status, and age, united in their determination to help others. And on the day before Princess Diana is to be laid to rest, the Calcutta nun who spent half a century helping the poor and destitute dies in Calcutta. Good evening. Mother Teresa spent a lifetime helping those who could not help themselves.
Today, at the age of 87, she died of heart failure. And that's first on Fox tonight. A news agency in India reports Mother Teresa had been planning to attend an all-faith prayer meeting in Calcutta tomorrow to pray for Princess Diana. But the Roman Catholic nun complained of pain in her back after eating her dinner and died shortly thereafter. More from Eric Shawn.
Thank God for this beautiful occasion where we can all together proclaim the joy of spreading peace.
Those words, uttered by Mother Teresa of Calcutta, capture the essence of the woman called the, quote, saint of the gutters. Born Agnes Goincha to Albanian parents in the former Yugoslavia, Mother Teresa made her first trip to India at age 18. That's when she fell in love with the so-called untouchables in the streets and slums of India's most populous city. So began 50 years of service to the wretched of the earth. In Calcutta, she founded her Order of the Missionaries of Charity, which runs homes for the diseased, neglected, and impoverished. The profound commitment of Mother Teresa and her band of nuns grew into a worldwide mission, lending a hand to the needy everywhere. Her adopted country heaped awards on her, and Mother Teresa's unique vocation earned universal praise, culminating in the Nobel Peace Prize in 1979. This humble modern-day saint seemed almost embarrassed by the glare of admirers, who included no less than the head of the Roman Catholic Church, Pope John Paul II. Observers say her meetings with the Pope were marked by profound respect and deference. Mother Teresa, much more at home, soothing the pains of the distraught people. Her boundless energy finally gave way to the ravages of age. In recent months, malaria, heart failure, and pneumonia took their toll, but not before she became what she prayed for all her life.
Lord, make me a channel of thy peace, that where there is hatred, I may bring love, that where there is wrong, I may bring the spirit of forgiveness.
I'm Eric Shawn, Fox News.
As you might expect, people around the world have been reacting with sadness at the news of Mother Teresa's death. French President Jacques Chirac said her death means, quote, there is less love in the world, less compassion, less light. President Clinton talked about the enormous impact that Mother Teresa had on people and their lives.
She touched the lives of millions of people in India, here in the United States, and throughout the world.
She knew, she was absolutely certain, whether it's on abortion or whether it's taking care of the poorest of the poor, or whether you put a convent in Haiti or you go to Lebanon, she knew where she was going.
For her to have touched Pennsylvania in such a unique and personal way, and for her to have touched the world in such an extraordinary way, should be, I hope, an inspiration for all of us.
The passing of Mother Teresa has hit especially hard in those communities where she visited and on the lives she touched so profoundly. Karen Thomas joins us now from Chester, where Mother Teresa paid a visit 2 years ago. Karen.
Jacqueline, parishioners here at Blessed Catherine Drexel Church are deeply saddened by Mother Teresa's death. To them, she was a living saint, someone who cared about people the rest of society didn't seem to pay attention to. Mother Teresa!
It's a loss of the church. It's the loss of a person that has done so many great things.
Parishioners of the Blessed Catherine Drexel Church remember June 17, 1995, the thrilling day Mother Teresa came to visit. On this day, they're grief-stricken, but they're comforted by thoughts of the day a little woman from Calcutta came to town.
It was a wonderful opportunity for the people of Chester to see someone with her stature. Mother Teresa's special, and our religion is extremely special.
John KAISNER was head of security that day. He has memorialized Mother Teresa's visit with a montage of pictures. He says her spirit filled the church. He remembers the crowd pushing to get close to the small, frail woman.
It wasn't possible for her to touch everybody, but she tried to touch as many people as she could, especially the sick and the children.
I shook her hand and felt a warmth, a power, and electricity. There was all of that.
Assistant Pastor Gertelman says the church was forever changed after Mother Teresa's visit. She left behind a sense of unity and peace. Mother Teresa spent years comforting people, even in their last moments of life. Here in Chester, Mother Teresa founded the Gift of Mary Convent, a home for women and children with AIDS. She believed if they must die, they should do so with dignity. Father Mike Mannion of Catholic University knew Mother Teresa for years and worked with her on many projects. He says her legacy will live on because she impressed so many through her holiness, humor, and humility.
She wanted people to look past her, walk with her, and look past her to serving God's children. And so I think her legacy will be stronger than ever now that she's with the Lord.
And most people I've talked to agree there will be no one who could take the place of Mother Teresa, but the hope is that her saintly work will have inspired enough people to continue spreading love and peace. Reporting live in Chester, I'm Karen Thomas. Back to you.
Thanks, Karen. Well, in just a few hours, England and the world...
Hyde Park, where people are saving spots preparing to watch Princess Diana's funeral services on giant television screens. People are gathering all over the city, preparing for a final goodbye to Princess Diana. The casket carrying Princess Diana's body is moved in preparation for Saturday's massive funeral procession. Hundreds of thousands of mourners look on. On the eve of Princess Diana's funeral, the Queen spoke openly about the death of her former daughter-in-law. Queen Elizabeth said she was speaking from the heart while talking about Princess Diana's tragic death.
I want to pay tribute to Diana myself. She was an exceptional and gifted human being. In good times and bad, she never lost her capacity to smile and laugh, nor to inspire others with her warmth and kindness.
The Queen's 3-minute speech may have satisfied many Brits who were looking for public comments from her on their national tragedy.
Almost felt scripted, but I'm glad she said what she said. It was very short and extremely well revised. I mean, whoever wrote the script should definitely be given a medal.
Earlier Friday, the Queen walked among the mourners at Buckingham Palace. Prince Charles and his sons greeted mourners, receiving flowers and accepting condolences.
He said that he was overwhelmed by the flowers and the response of the public and just couldn't believe it.
In Paris, Ritz hotel managers released their video showing the final images of Princess Diana and Dodi before the accident. They're focusing blame for the death of Diana and Dodi on the paparazzi. The video reveals some tender moments shared by a caring couple. It's a stark contrast to images of the princess's casket being moved to Kensington Palace before the funeral. Anywhere from 3 million to 10 million people are expected to turn out for funeral services. The burial site has been changed to a private island on Princess Diana's family estate. In London, Mike Emanuel, Fox News.
Well, the Brits are surely known for their ability to keep a stiff upper lip. As you just saw, the Queen demonstrated that ability today as she spoke to the nation and the world about her former daughter-in-law. An international crowd at the Dickens Inn in Society Hill watched the Queen's speech with more than passing interest. Afterwards, the general observation was that the Queen had remained reserved, and that was okay.
She has to have some reserve. She has to behave in a certain manner. And I don't think she was holed up in Scotland because she was being inconsiderate and that she doesn't have any feelings. I think she was grieving privately and she was looking after those 2 boys.
I've dealt with death, and you deal with it in your own way. And they're dealing with it the way they were brought up to deal with it.
Still, there were some in this crowd expressing disappointment the Queen never used the word love to describe her feelings for the late princess.
Fox News will have complete coverage of Princess Diana's funeral. Our live coverage from London of the funeral procession and the ceremony at Westminster Abbey will air tomorrow morning from 3 until 8. Later in this newscast, we'll go back to London for more.
The world is saying goodbye to 2 humanitarians who touched the hearts of millions through their work. Good evening, everyone. I'm Larry Kane. That funeral is just a few hours away, and this was an historic and extraordinary day in London. We begin our coverage with CBS correspondent Liz Mullen, who is live in London tonight. Liz?
Princess Diana's funeral gets underway just a few hours from now. Nearly 6 million people are expected in town for the funeral and procession. Following her funeral, the flag will for the first time be flown at half-staff above Buckingham Palace for a sad day in British history. In London, they've started to arrive, perhaps by the millions. People camping out on sidewalks to witness the event of their lifetimes, Princess Diana's funeral.
He was one for very publicly showing her emotions. Therefore, it seems right that we should show ours to her at this last opportunity.
Diana's funeral could be the biggest public turnout here since the end of World War II, 50 years ago. People are sharing food, lighting candles, becoming instant friends, brought together to London by a common thread, their love for Diana.
This is going to get on history books.
An historic event it is. As thousands of people watched in silence, Diana's coffin was moved from St. James's Palace to her former home, Kensington Palace. Prince Charles and sons William and Harry stoically followed in a limousine. Some threw flowers on the hearse as it passed.
Charles.
Thank you so much.
Earlier, the three princes came to Kensington Palace to meet the thousands of people gathered there. It was a touching moment. The Queen, also back in London, mingled with the crowd at Buckingham Palace. Some said she had tears in her eyes as she looked at the endless display of flowers and messages. She took time to listen to her subjects, smile, and even shake hands. Then, in yet another historic moment, she spoke live to the British nation.
So what I say to you now, as your queen and as a grandmother, I say from my heart. First, I want to pay tribute to Diana myself. She was an exceptional and gifted human being.
With 2,000 in attendance, Diana's funeral promises to be a blend of the traditional with the not-so-traditional. The Westminster Abbey Choir and Elton John, the Prime Minister and the charity worker. The perfect metaphor for the life of Diana. Reporting live in London, I'm Liz Mullen. Now back to you.
Liz, what about London at this hour of the morning? It's about 5 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning. Is it already traffic jammed, the city? Is it locked out?
Larry, we have never seen anything like this, frankly. So many people in town right now. People have staked out their positions along the procession route. Thousands of people already lining that route. They have been taking place all day long. And you're right, everywhere you look, you see signs that this is going to be an extraordinary day.
The security must be incredible there.
It really is. They're tightening up just a bit. They've closed off a lot of the major streets along the procession route, which will stretch about 3.5 miles through the city. Of course, they tripled that number simply to accommodate the masses crowding into London.
Okay, Liz Mullen, thanks for joining us tonight from London. In breaking protocol to make her almost unprecedented and highly personal speech, the one Liz mentioned, the Queen reached out and touched those who were looking for hope and consolation. News 3's Ren Scott has reaction to her remarkable speech.
Since last Sunday's dreadful news,
it lasted little more than 3 minutes. But this live television address by the Queen, her first in more than 30 years, was by all measures extraordinary.
It is extraordinary, and I think it's a real sign that she's realizing that it's different being queen. It's different being queen in the 1990s than it was in the 1890s, and Queen Victoria could say, "We are not amused," and that was it.
By training and tradition, the monarchy has always been aloof. They are not expected to show emotion nor give in to public pressure. But through the life and death of Princess Diana, all that has apparently changed.
I think this is an indication that the Queen is realizing that she has to make a little more effort now.
Also apparently changed by the Queen's address and the royal family's brief appearance before mourners outside Buckingham Palace is the intense criticism of the royals for their lack of public response to Diana's death. At this British pub in Center City, they watched and they were moved.
I think the Queen has been viewed unfairly recently. I think she spent the last week up in Balmoral looking after those two boys, counselling them. They're about to step onto the world stage tomorrow in front of 1 billion people, and I think that's what the royal family's been doing.
So perhaps in death, Diana has accomplished what she wanted so much in life. She has made the rigid and aloof monarchy reach out to the common man. I'm Ren Scott, News 3.
In Paris, Dodi Fayed's family released surveillance video of him with Diana a few hours before they died. They ate at the famous Ritz Hotel, owned by Fayed's family. Security cameras show Diana and Dodi entering the hotel with their bodyguard, who was to be the only survivor of the crash. Here, Dodi has his arm around Diana in a hallway of the Ritz. And here they're talking with the bodyguard, walking to the car in which they died a few minutes later. Now, French police have placed 3 more photographers under official investigation in the Diana crash, bringing the number to 10. The 3, who reportedly were also in or near the Paris tunnel the night of the accident, turned themselves in yesterday. British detectives from Scotland Yard are now in France, working with experts there on that investigation. And as final preparations are being made for Princess Diana's funeral, dignitaries from around the world are arriving in London. Hillary Rodham Clinton left Martha's Vineyard tonight, where the Clinton family is vacationing. She will represent the president and the millions of Americans mourning Princess Diana. The funeral procession will enter Westminster Abbey as the choir sings. Then the clerical dean of the Abbey will give an opening prayer, followed by a choir singing a piece from Verdi's Requiem. Afterwards, Princess Diana's friend and rock star Elton John will sing a new rendition of Candle in the Wind. Then Prime Minister Tony Blair will read from the Bible. More prayers will be said for Dodi Fayed and the driver of the car who died in the accident. Diana's sisters will reportedly read poetry, and her brother will read a tribute. Finally, mourners will observe 2 minutes of silence, which will be broken by the ringing of the Abbey's bells. CBS News begins live coverage of Diana's funeral in just a few hours at 2 a.m., followed by a special News 3 weekend with Amy Caples and myself. Will recap all of the day's events tomorrow morning. Well, tributes are coming in from around the world tonight for Mother Teresa, the beloved humanitarian whose work transcended religious and national boundaries, died in Calcutta today at the age of 87 from heart problems. 5 days ago, in one of her last public appearances, she paid tribute to her friend, Princess Diana.
She was very good mother and very good wife. So they will miss her a lot.
Mother Teresa and Princess Diana met for the last time in New York City in June. News 3's Chris Carden has more on the life of a woman many thought of as a living saint.
She seemed to defy death for so long, a tireless champion of the poor, who at 87 years old was sometimes called the Angel of Calcutta, or often referred to as the Saint of the Gutters, but always known in our hearts as Mother.
The poor do not need our sympathy and our pity. The poor need our love and compassion.
At the age of 18, Mother Teresa left her home in Macedonia to pursue the life of a nun, and she did most of her life's work in the slums of Calcutta, India, for which she won a Nobel Prize. She was also on the front line of poverty in Ethiopia and South Africa, and created a global network of homes for the poor, including one of the first homes for AIDS patients. In 1982, she caused a ceasefire between Palestinians and guerrillas in Beirut to rescue 37 children caught in a frontline hospital. Honored by the Vatican, she held dear to its beliefs, even drawing criticism for her opposition to contraception, divorce, and abortion. But her eyes were wide to the modern world and all its tragedies, even commenting Monday on the loss of Princess Diana, who was devoted in her own way to charity.
It will be loss for the family because she was mother and wife. Naturally, they will miss her very badly.
But Mother Teresa, in her selfless devotion to millions, will herself be remembered and missed. Chris Carden, News 3.
We've heard so much about the people, thousands lining up in London. Will thousands of people, mourners, surge through the streets of Calcutta today to gather at Mother Teresa's headquarters where she died. Her body was watched over by the nuns of her organization, the Missionaries of Charity. Now, the Missionaries of Charity, and outside the line stretched for many blocks as the residents whom she ministered came to pray today. Well, many people in our area have fond memories of Mother Teresa. She visited here several times, and right now, News 3's Beverly Williams joins us live from the Cathedral of Saints Peter and Paul on the Parkway with that story. Beverly?
Larry, in recent years, Mother Teresa visited Trenton, Chester, and Norristown. And no doubt this weekend, millions will visit cathedrals to say prayers for her. She was well loved throughout the globe and here in the Delaware Valley. Physically, she appeared frail, but to those fortunate enough to be face-to-face with her, Mother Teresa radiated love and compassion. Terry McGuire met her when she visited St. Mary's Cathedral in Trenton in June of '95.
The gift of hope, the gift of joy, the gift of love. She had it all, and it just flowed.
And it flowed through the slums of Calcutta, India, Ethiopia, South Africa, and through the ghettos of America. Where there were poor, there was Mother Teresa.
The poor need our love and compassion.
Father Bob Tynsky of St. Mary's Cathedral reflected on Mother Teresa's dedication for the poor.
When you see something like that in your life, you see really the presence of God.
Mother Teresa walked among kings and queens and captured the hearts of working people all over the world. Working people like John KAISNER, Mother Teresa's bodyguard, when she visited the Blessed Catherine Church in Chester.
I took great comfort in knowing that she was a beacon that not all is lost. There was always somebody that cared.
Mary Smith was working as a secretary when she saw Mother Teresa at St. Patrick's Church in Norristown during the 80s. Mother Teresa touched her 2 grandchildren.
I said, when somebody tells you Mother Teresa's a saint, you can say that saint touched me when I was little.
It's not known when the Roman Catholic Church will officially declare Mother Teresa a saint, but to those who admired and loved her and her work, she was a living saint. Beverly Williams, News 3, reporting live from Center City.
Thank you, Bev. According to the Nuns of the Missionaries of Charity, Mother Teresa's funeral is tentatively scheduled for next Wednesday afternoon. Still ahead on...
Among missionaries of Mother Teresa's religious order, the 87-year-old Roman Catholic nun died Friday of a heart attack. A funeral for Mother Teresa is being planned for Wednesday. That's the 51st anniversary of her inspiration to found her order, the Missionaries of Charity. Mother Teresa was awarded a Nobel Peace Prize in 1979 in honor of her work with the poor. Mother Teresa became a world symbol of untiring commitment to the poor and suffering. CNN's New Delhi bureau chief Anita Pratap has this perspective on the woman whose life began in Albania, which then was Serbia, and whose career was spent in the slums of Calcutta.
And to serve the poor.
The woman known as the living saint is dead. Mother Teresa, a Roman Catholic nun, began her crusade in the early 1950s by serving the poorest of the poor in Calcutta, India. Born to a middle-class Albanian family, Mother Teresa said she was inspired to become a nun and come to Calcutta after she heard wonderful accounts about its people from a Jesuit priest she knew.
There were a group of Yugoslav Jesuits who were serving in and around Calcutta. And their stories home, their letters home, fired her imagination.
All her life, Mother Teresa had sheltered orphans abandoned in garbage dumps, comforted the insane, cleaned the ulcers of lepers, rescued destitute old people dying in the gutters. Many called her Saint of the Gutters. She believed there was no disease worse than the feeling of being unwanted. Mother Teresa made it her calling to give hope to the sick and the abandoned, to heal the wounds of despair, to restore their dignity, stolen by an uncaring, cruel world. For Mother Teresa, caring for the poor and the diseased was much more than social service. It was a holy mission to serve Jesus Christ. As she once said, in the slums, in the broken body, in the children, she saw Christ. She touched him.
Love is very powerful when it comes as a love for God. God's love in action.
Mother Teresa opened her arms to all, Christians, Hindus, Muslims. She cared for the victims of the world, the disadvantaged in India, the hungry in Africa, the earthquake victims in Central Asia, the AIDS patients in America. And she traveled from the gutters of Calcutta to the ghettos of New York to the slums of her native Albania. For her years of work, in 1979, Mother Teresa won the Nobel Peace Prize. She once said, "Give the poor not only your care, but also your heart. Give until it hurts, because real love hurts." She suffered 2 heart attacks. The one in 1989 was nearly fatal. Since then, she had been on a pacemaker. She struggled for life on her 86th birthday in the intensive coronary care unit in a Calcutta hospital. To the world, Mother Teresa was an angel of mercy. But one British television documentary called her Hell's Angel, accusing her of manipulating donations even out of dictators.
She said, I take no salary, no church assistance, no government grant, nothing. I have never asked for money. But in all conscience, who am I to refuse if somebody gives me money for my work?
Mother Teresa leaves behind a congregation, the Missionaries of Charity that she founded in 1950 to carry on her cause. They have branches in over 100 countries. Wherever she went, Mother Teresa blazed a trail of hope in a world darkened by death, destruction, disease, and despair. The world will miss her, and many Roman Catholics around the globe hope the Vatican will canonize her, so that in death she becomes a saint.
Not so much to be understood as to understand, not so much to be loved as to love, for it is in giving that we receive. It is in pardoning that we are pardoned. It is in dying that we are born again to eternal life. So let us be one heart full of love in the heart of God. And so share the joy of loving by sharing, helping, loving, serving each other. So let us pray that God's blessing be with us all. God bless you all.
The musical world is mourning the loss.
Buying and selling stocks can mean substantial